I hope you're paying attention and watching this video because I'm going to show you the easiest way to become a millionaire in this world. I made $3,000 in literally 40 minutes flipping vacant land with none of my own money, and I'm going to show you a step-by-step process on how you can do the exact same thing. A personal friend of mine wanted to escape his 9 to 5, which I'm sure most of you want to probably do as well, and he wanted to become financially independent. So I said, let's do this process literally from start to finish. I wanted to hold his hand and show him exactly what I do, and it's exactly what everyone else is going to do who I teach. I wanted to put myself in y'all's position on no experience, starting this from scratch, and we just did the absolute bare minimum. We identified a market, we built a list of properties, we skip traced them, which means we got the seller's contact information, and we sent them text messages. And literally in 23 messages, we had a deal. I cannot stress how simple this is. So I hope you watch this video. I really, really hope you watch this video because this is the key to escaping the life that you're living now. This is the key to financial freedom, to be your own boss, to not have to wake up with an alarm clock. This is freedom. So pay attention.
All right, so first and foremost, I just want to let you know that you can do this business model anywhere in the country as long as there's activity and there's money to be made. There's always a deal if you get an incentivizing enough of a price. Someone will always be willing to pay for a good deal. So another thing just to counteract, people say there's a lot of saturation in this business. So I went into a market where all odds were against me on this. And I just know out of repetition doing this over and over and being involved, I know the most saturated markets, dead markets, whatever. So I figured let's make it more difficult. Let's go into one of the most saturated markets in America. There's pluses and minuses to it. The sellers are being constantly tackled every day, multiple times. And then there's reason to it because there's a lot of volume in those markets. There's a lot of sales. So point being is we went into a very saturated market, which I have no shame in doing so. All it's doing is making this more difficult. So the way to identify is I go to sold on Zillow, and everybody has access to Zillow. It says sign in right here. I don't even have an account. So if you go to sold and you set your home type to lots land, again, I specifically focus on vacant land. You can do this with any class of real estate, anything. So we're going to focus on lots and land. So I went to our time frame, set it to 30 days, and I click sold. So all these little dots you see are going to be transactions. Quick, easy analysis, go where the dots are. That's going to be your highest activity of sales. So I naturally gravitated towards where the congestion is of all of these, and I landed amongst this area right here. Some of you may have heard it before, Lehigh Acres, Florida. No shame in it. So as you can see, there are tons of transactions. This is just lots and land specifically, and we have 200 results just in this area in the past 30 days. If I were to set it to 90 days, you can see right now 770 results. So the first parameter of 30 days was 200 and something. Now it's 770. So there is an average of 250 deals a month. It's not slowing down. It's not, even though there's more saturation, there's still the volume there. People are getting the urge to sell. A deal that wasn't a deal a month ago may very well be a deal now. So there's always opportunity. So we went into a easy and at the same time difficult market due to the saturation. So I ended up in 33972 Lehigh Acres. Simple. So what I did is I identified my market, and then I switched over to PropStream, and all I did was enter in the zip code. Pulls up every property. Now, I go on the very in-depths of this on how I build out my lists, specific filters that I'll be using. I just find the best results with. but you can build it out any way that you feel. So I did a list, I want to say it was around 5,000 properties, but we'll get into that further. So very simply built out my list, pulled the property. And if we go to list, I'm just going to blur out some of this information because it is people's personal information. Obviously it's all public record, but anyways, so it's a relatively big list. Is that necessary? No. By all means, is that not necessary? Typically, the way I started off with this business was pulling lists of about 1,000 records, maybe even 500 to 1,500 or so. So you pull your list and you download it, you export it, and then what we do is we drop it into multiple different services, companies you can work with, kind skip tracing, batch leads, or what I recommend is PropStream. PropStream is integrated with a skip tracing software. So they will give you the property information as well as skip trace the records, which means they're going to get you the associated phone numbers with those properties. Now, there is free ways to do this, which I do teach, a little bit more labor intensive because you have to manually do it. I just find ease with this. It's a little bit of dollars, but it's well worth it because the amount of time that you save. So what I did with that skip trace list is I dropped it over into Smarter Contact. You do have to build out a campaign and you have to map it out with your CSV file from the skip trace records. I do go further in depth with that, but just to get to the point, I advise and I strongly advocate using texting as your first channel of marketing for multiple reasons. One, it's very cheap in the grand scheme of things of this business, and your response time is practically immediate. People receive a text, they respond if they see it. If not, they just ignore you. So it's a fraction of a cost for other channels of marketing. You know, essentially texting and calling is very cheap. And there are free ways to do this manually. But again, I want to do this at scale, and it's definitely within reason for affordability. So I launched a text campaign, and you can see right here timestamps on it. October 18th, 2025, 10:54 a.m. was when the messages started going out, and then we started getting some responses. Now, these trickle out. You know, it's not all messages at once. And you can see right here is about 20 messages, and this is in chronological order of when they were received, the replies. If I go right up to here, boom, that's not many. That's not many responses. Hello, my name is Maria. You know, we just use an assistant name. And seller said I'm asking $25,000. Now, he was pretty much on the money. A little too high, though, for comfort. And I just said, can you take a call? You see the timestamps, 12:25. And I called him at 12:28, 14-minute phone call. If I go over to his property, here's exactly where it was. Somewhere in this vicinity. And I can tell you right now, the way I did this is I'm looking at all of these cheapest listings possible, and his was a half acre. So if you see this one right here, this is a 1/4 acre lot. But mid-30s, everything's listed. You're going to see along these main roads, these are 1/4 acres, are going to be listed cheaper. But for the most part, in this middle of the road area, everything's in the mid-30s. So then I went over to solds, and I just saw everything selling for 30 grand. Majority are very high 20s, you know. So I got off the phone with him, and I was able to tie the deal up at $20,500. So what I did is I researched who's buying in this area, and there's very, very simple ways to do this. And what I did was I just clicked on one of these to see who was buying it. In the same way that I'm skip tracing these people, whether I'm doing it in a big list or if I'm doing it manually with websites, there's so many ways to get people's phone numbers that are associated with property. Or just if it's a company name, you can Google the company name and you can find their phone number on Google. So I did that, and I called a builder who recently purchased in this area. And I'll just tell you, he said, I typically buy south of this street. Well, this lot was right here, just north of it. And I saw that he was typically paying around 28, 29, 30 grand. So just for proof of concept, I wanted to get the deal done. I said, come on, man, you're a block away. And I said, can you just give me 25 grand for it? And he goes, do 23. And I just, peace of mind, I had to make $3,000. So I said, 23.5 and you pay closing. And he's like, fine, send the deal. So as you can see, my first point of contact with him was at 12:25. 40 minutes later. And during this call, I got him to sign the contract. And in that time frame, I got on the phone with a buyer, the first buyer I saw. Got him to sign a contract. And as you can see right here, new file. Here's the title company email. Here's my 2 contracts. Monday morning, and here's your timestamp. Saturday, October 18th, 1:05. Here's your 2 contracts. And you see over here, closed, assignment fee wired, boom. $3,000 deal. And as you can see here, here is the closed, assignment fee wired with the deal information right there, closing statement attached, and deed to record attached as well. So this took 40 minutes to make it go from A to Z. And the title company, once the file's in their escrow, they take care of everything. We're done. Our work is over with. They handle the rest. And they sent me this wire 10 days later. This deal was done in literally 10 days. $3,000, and the amount of deals I did since that 10-day wait is insanity. I literally do this every day. I don't stop practicing what I preach. And it's as simple as this, people. Find a deal, find a buyer, put the contracts together, send it to the title company, and wait for your check. Wait for your wire. Now, can you scale this to an extreme level and get granular with the information and underwriting and finding the diamond in the rough, which is the approach that I like to take? Most definitely. And that's how you scale this into a relatively simple 6-figure profiting monthly operation. So I hope this helped you, and I tried to make it as transparent with timestamps as possible. If you guys have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me on social media. I have my social medias linked down below, and book a call with me, anything you want to do. But this is what I teach, and I practice what I preach. So thank you again. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.